I'm Shae Russell from mining.com.au and I'm coming to you from the floor of the RIU Sydney Resources Round-up. I'm standing next to Joe David, the Managing Director for Elementos. Joe, it's fabulous to see you. How are you?
Yeah, great to see you in person, Shae.
Yeah, it certainly is. Listen, I don't get to talk about tin a lot, so that's where we're going to take today's conversation. How is the tin market looking? Because there's been some pretty wild price swings in tin lately.
Well, there's been some wild issues on the supply side, right? So, I think anyone that follows the tin market knows the Eastern DRC is quite a large supplier, and they've had major armed conflicts there. So the biggest mine in the world went offline for about a month earlier in this year, which put a big shock into the market. Then ongoing issues with basically the other top four suppliers. Indonesia's brought in new royalties, licensing issues, which is really limiting the refined metal going into the market. Myanmar, which is one of the major mining suppliers, and they supply the smelters, the biggest smelters in the world in China. That's all dried up. There's been an earthquake there, massive issues as well. So a lot of challenges on the supply side of the tin market. Obviously on demand side, demand is somewhat stunted by this trade war and everything going on, and everyone being a little bit worried about how much demand there is moving forward. But the tin price has still been going up. So the supply side is winning against the demand side, but demand is still very, very strong moving forward. The role of tin as a solder into electronics can't be denied, and the future's looking very strong for us.
Certainly, so I wouldn't mind just sticking with the supply side for a moment. Like you talked about how there's been all this disruption in major supplies, but there's not a lot of tin supply to begin with. Like it's not like copper where there's a bit of excess in the market. There is no excess in the tin market, is there? No,
absolutely. So there's two listed exchanges where you can see the metal volumes or the stockpiles. Is the Shanghai Futures Exchange and the London Metals Exchange. Both of those stocks are being drawn down quite significantly. And basically the word on the street is the other thing you look for is the TCRCs, the treatment and refining costs of the smelters. They're so desperate for material, they've really been plummeting. So it hasn't gone negative like copper yet, but certainly there's shows there's a hell of a lot of emphasis of people trying to keep their smelters supplied and operating.
Interesting. Now let's bring this back to your project. You have a tin project in Spain. You recently released your DFS. What's the response been to Elementos' project out in Spain after this?
Yeah, hey, I guess two things have happened on that side. Well, one, we put out the DFS on the ASX, so we've got a pretty good response on the ASX. Really, really strong response from the industry, however. As I said, the industry, which probably understands, so a lot of off-takers contacting us, a lot of potential future partners on both debt and equity coming to talk to us, which is fantastic. The other thing that's happened, I think, that has really buoyed along the project is one of the few tin projects around the world that was, available or in development has just been bought by the Chinese. So it was a previously listed ASX company called Casbar Resources, rebranded Atlantic Tin, asset in Morocco. That's just been announced last week that they've been bought by a Chinese company. So that metal or that tin supply, it will go to China. So again, we're now the only guys sitting in Europe ready to provide Europe with a vertically integrated mine to metal tin supply.
Yeah, an incredibly advantageous position to be in. Listen, Joe, it was an absolute pleasure catching up with you. I do love talking about tin. Go figure. Thanks for being here. It was great to see you in the flesh.
Thanks, Shae.